January 25th, 2023. This is Emini 2000 tick chart on the Thinkorswim paper trader. This is how the chart looked today. So it looked like there was a pretty big sell-off, consolidated at the bottom, and then it rallied back up. So it kind of has a V configuration. This is how my charts look today after I drew them up. These two red lines just indicate to me that I actually had to leave my desk for a couple of hours to run some errands. So around 10 o'clock, I had to leave, and I came back close to about 12:30. At that point, I decided not to take any trades because it was pretty close to the end of the day closing. Then I just went back and reviewed the chart. These yellow fonts are just what I saw after the fact, while the red ones and the blue ones, red ones are what I see in real time and I mark it up. Blue ones are what I see in real time when the trade I actually took. So I took 3 trades today, and I'm going to go through each one as well as some of the setups I saw. So diving in, this is the pre-market. Now the pre-market, actually, I had the trend line closer to this at the beginning, but later when things developed, I decided to kind of get rid of it because I had the first swing and I had somewhat of a little bit of a touch up here, but I didn't really like it after a while. So I ended up drawing this bigger trend line based off of the bottom swings. So I actually drew this bottom line first, then I dragged it up. Originally I had it touching closer to here, but then later I moved it all the way up to the top, as you'll see. So the market opens. Definitely a bearish trend. It's a sell-off right now, so I'm looking for opportunities to short. And so when it comes up to the EMA, I noticed, okay, touch of the EMA comes down. This is the first entry short. Right here, I'm looking for a potential second entry short. So I see a potential second entry short right here, but I also see a second entry long. So first entry long, then it breaks up second entry long. I did not want to take any longs because it's counter trend to this big bearish movement down. So I did see, and I'm waiting for a second entry short. And I do. I see a failed first entry long, and there's also a second entry short. But this is right here. If I decide to take a second entry short, it's kind of getting close to the bottom. And then it's a failed second entry long, which gives me another confirmation. At this time, I drew this line, but it's pretty close to the bottom, so I didn't want to take it this early. I just waited to see what would happen. Turns out it would have worked, but that's okay. I didn't take the trade. Here, I have 3 touches now. I'm pretty confident about this line. This one up here could have been a little bit lower. I didn't know at the time, so I just kind of had it floating roughly about there. Prices continue moving up. So now it's kind of testing the bottom of this trading range. And at this point, I drew the top of this big channel because it used to be down here. And I drew it up to match the front and the end. And I like the bottom because it confirms several times. So it creates a first entry long. There's no trade there. It creates a second entry long. Now this is a second entry long and it's a failure. It closes below the EMA, but if you notice, the EMA is chopping through all these candles. So I wasn't ready to take a long or a short yet. I just kind of sat and waited. Kept going, creates kind of like a third entry long, if you will, but it's touching the bottom of this trending channel going down, but there's still no trade for me yet. So I'll watch it, keeps going down. So it obviously has violated this trading channel. It didn't try to break and make a new high. And I drew a second trading channel here off of these 2 swings. Watching price go down. And to be honest, earlier in the day, I actually had this channel, but I later deleted it because I thought it was actually something closer to this. But as it violated it and kept going down, I ended up with this guy. Makes a new low, makes a first entry short. There's nothing there so far. Second entry short. It's too close to the bottom. Don't want to take that. Plus, it's too far from the EMA. Keeps trending down. Now, I have a confirmation that this lower part of the trading channel is pretty good. So I feel confident in that. Keeps going down. Now, this is actually the 200-day simple moving average on the daily. So it kind of crept down. So it might have some kind of response there. So I'm just kind of keeping an eye on it. Doesn't necessarily mean I'll take a trade, but it just means that there's something to be watchful of. I see a second entry short here. It comes up as a second entry short here. Now I'm thinking, okay, overall this bullish trend, excuse me, this bearish trend is still very strong. So I'm ready to take an entry here, but I don't like that it closed above, and I don't like that it could still make a move up to here. So I waited, and it flushes down. So when it flushed down, I said, okay, this is a pretty good confirmation. I'm late to the game. It's a second entry short, and I got a no fill because I put my entry right here at 39.74, hoping that it would come back and sweep me up. It didn't. It kept going. Not only did it keep going, it would have taken my profit. If I was on the trade, I would have gotten my profit target. Now at that point, I figured, okay, I could either chase this thing or leave it alone. Best option for me was to leave it alone because the trade is already complete. It's gone. It left without me, and I wasn't on it. So it was hard not to feel FOMO, but I just had to let it go. Comes back up. Now test this. Now I'm watching very carefully again, because even though it's second entry short, you can count this as a first entry, and potentially there might be a second entry here if you count this as one leg up, second leg up. But it kept going. So I missed that trade, and now it's just breaking out of this descending bear. But I'm thinking it might come back since this is so strong. So all I can do right now is wait and watch. I draw this trend line to see what's happening. I see an overshoot. Overshoot's continuing. It comes down, touches it barely, and it goes back up. So now I'm pretty interested because I counted this as a new low. I saw this as a first entry short, second entry short. I got my order ready because I wanted to see if this is actually going to keep breaking down. And right here, it comes up, so I didn't enter yet. And finally, I have my order right here, one tick below that last candle. So I'll show you. I took it at 39.8450. 39.8450 is right here. So this is 39.8475, and I have it one tick below. And I took it right here. It filled my order, and now I have my stop up here. It's a very tight stop. I'm pretty okay with this trade, and it's far from the EMA, so I have room to go down. And it went down. All right, I was able to take off one, then I took off the second one, and then my runner got stopped out. But that's okay because it's bouncing off the EMA. I don't know if it's going to break up higher again because it had an overshoot. It went all the way through, and I'm not sure if it's going to come back up. So that was my first trade of the day. I saw a lower high here because you could say this is coming down. This is my second entry short, but then it has a lower high. It might be confirming my second entry short, that overall trend is resuming back to the downside. But I didn't take this trade because look at this big, big, big signal bar. If I were to take this, I have to keep my risk up here, and that's a little bit higher than I'd like. Goes down, and I see, okay, now a failed second entry long because I started from here as the new count. First entry long, all the way up to here, comes down, second entry long. So it could be a second entry long, but it closed below the EMA. So this price action afterwards could either go up or down, of course, right? Or it could chop sideways. What made me think it was going to go down was the overall trend is very strong to the downside. So I'm thinking it closed below the EMA on this candle. So I'm going to get my order ready, and I entered it right there. So this is the second trade of the day. It shows that I entered on this candle, but I actually entered on this one. I had my order ready on this one because I had it one tick below. This low of the candle is 39.7950, and you'll see I entered at 39.7925. How did that happen? I actually had a one tick below, which is right here at the low of this candle. I had my order ready. It didn't get filled. So what happened was this candle was chopping up and down, and it finally closed at the end. It didn't fill me, but as soon as it opened, my order was the next in line. So I was able to get right here, just entered right there, which is perfect. I was able to get my full core profit right there. And then I just dragged my runner straight to break even. So my runner was pretty much right here, just as a free trade. And as you can see, I just kept dragging my runner to the top, one tick above each of the next candles, just to try to squeeze out as much profit as I can. Finally, I do get stopped out because I dragged it all the way down here to 39.75.75, which is 39.75, which is this guy right here. So I had my stop right here, And this candle came up, touched it barely. I thought I survived, came in, then it took me out. And that was okay. That was my second trade of the day. Also green, which was both trades at this point I'm okay with. If they had gone against me, I would be fine with that also because I have a reason behind my trade and I can learn from it. So it comes up, now I draw this descending trend line here, and this dotted line is probably about where, well, this middle line, and I drew the bottom of it right there, and prices kept moving. So it's coming down, it's kind of respecting this bottom of the trading range. So I kind of drew it here and I just arbitrarily put this trading range. It was actually a little bit higher and I squeezed it down a little bit later. So it goes up. I don't see any good entries here. It's like second entry, third entry if you wanted to. It's kind of a double bottom, just stuff that doesn't look that clean. However, I do get confirmation 1, 2, 3 that I like. So I know that this is probably a valid trading trend line. I just drew the bottom here just to have it placed somewhere. So it comes down, it gets to the 200 simple moving average on the daily, but that doesn't mean there's a trade. It just means it's just something interesting. Keeps going down. I have a measured move and I draw this second arrow, seeing if it's going to come down and touch it. It comes down, just touches it barely. It doesn't make the full move, and it kind of reverses. So again, you could say that this is a first entry, a second entry on the bigger visual, but how would you have known to take it here, 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 anywhere if you're going to take a long? Plus, you're going against the trend, which is something that's not the best idea. So it's better just to wait to see what more price action brings you. So it goes up. I see a lower high here. So what I saw is this move down, this like coming up. I see you could consider this a first entry short and then a second entry short, but I saw it more as a lower high. And I wasn't sure because I saw this as a first entry long, second entry long, this big visual on these measure moves. This could be considered a lower high right here because it kind of tried to go back down, break above. And in hindsight, I think it might have been a decent trade because look, it came down, it broke below the EMA, immediately reversed up and closed near the top. This is a pretty decent signal bar. And if you saw this at the time, I don't blame myself for not taking it because I'm not 100% sure what's going on, but it would have been a bit of worthwhile trade to take right here. But it is creating a double top here, so there's some conflicting news for me. But it eventually works out, as you can see, goes up, touches and respects the top of this trading channel again, comes back down. Now here you could take a short, but I am concerned that if I take a short, is it going to run into the EMA or is it going to break through? I don't know at this point, so it's better just to sit in my hands. It ends up breaking through because if you took a long or took a short, it would just been a little bit of a dice roll. Comes down. So I had this first measure move. I draw a second arrow here. You don't quite see it. I actually placed it here at the time, but as the price action developed, I moved it over to kind of let me see where things are happening. Makes a new low, moves up, breaks past this descending bearish channel. So now I'm just watching. I do see you can consider this a second entry short, but per the actual count, it's only a first entry short because you could consider this, okay, maybe there's a second entry short here, a hidden one, but I didn't like it. I wanted a deliberate one, so I saw a first entry short. So it's no trade, even though it made the measure move. So I'm watching carefully now. It's coming back down. It tries to go up again. So now I'm watching very carefully because this could be where my second entry short would be. And it looks like it is because it comes up, touches, and touches here. So if I wanted to enter this, I would have had to have taken it one tick below. But at that point, I don't like where the EMA is. I don't want to get stopped or have it bounce back up. So I did not take that trade. I'm watching carefully. Of course, it moves up. It would have been a failed second entry short because it moved up past this entry, consolidates, and then comes back down again. Now you have a full second entry, a failed second entry short. So you're thinking maybe I can go long. Well, that's a little early because these signal bars and the price action isn't really giving you that much of a clue. Comes down, touches the EMA. You don't know if it's going to be supported or not. So I just sat on my hands, scoops back up. And so here I see a possible second entry long because you have first entry long, comes up, second entry long. But at the time, you see the signal bar, and it doesn't look that encouraging. Turns out if you took it, it would have worked, but at the time, you don't really know that. So it's a little bit of a dicier, aggressive trade. So price action keeps moving. It clearly broke past this descending trend line now. And now it's kind of making this new one going up. So at the time, I didn't have these two overlapping trend lines drawn at that point yet because price is still moving up. So here, there's a very aggressive entry. Well, not very aggressive, but it is a little bit iffy because as you see, you make a new high, you come up, you make a first entry long, then you make a second entry long. It might have been worthwhile because it came down touched, but at that time, it was kind of a split-second decision because you would have thought, okay, this is a very good bullish bar. If I take it one entry above, it might go. However, it kind of made a double top or even considered a triple top here. It'd be 1, 2, perhaps a triple top. So it could potentially come back down. But if you took it right here or even wanted to take it above here, because this is probably where some stop out would have been, where people might have taken a short. So right here might have been a safe entry. At the time, in real time, I couldn't figure that all out because this all happened very quickly. This is at 8:19, and this candle is also at 8:19. So this happens very quickly. I don't have enough experience to see that happen and recognize it in time, but that would have been a decent entry to take. Moves up, prices keep chopping upwards. So at this point, I see, okay, there's possible trading range again. Not trading range, trading channel. So this dotted line is kind of where I had originally placed it, but it broke above. So at this point, I still don't have these two firmly established, this guy or this guy. And I'm just watching price action. Moves up, it respects the EMA. It's a double top, so it's a first entry long here. It's hitting this invisible line here. So this invisible line is kind of being respected. It breaks out once. So I'm thinking there's a trading range. I'm just waiting. Comes down. I see a second entry long here. So you can count this as a double top, first entry long. Right here, it's getting ready for a second entry long. It does, but it's very close to this top of this potential trading range. I don't want to take that trade because it might come back down. Now it's kind of respecting it. It's coming down, and you notice that the EMA is squeezing against the top of this trading range. But prices are respecting both right now. So one's going to give. At this point, I'm thinking it's probably going to be a bullish breakout because this downtrend seems like it's kind of resolved. And now it might be coming up and at least have a quick spike up. So I was getting an order ready, and I placed an order right here. I saw that this double top, and I said, okay, there's a chance that this is going to break up and break through. I want to have my order here ready just to take a quick scalp. And so you're going to see that I actually did have an order. This isn't quite a second entry of anything. It was more of a, I've seen this before play out on other charts. I think there's something there. And so I take an entry at 39.9275. 39.9275 is actually above these two because these two closed out at 39.9250. So I have one tick above. The reason I kept it one tick above is because I figured if this is going to break out, there's a lot of stop orders here for people who went short because they might have saw, okay, well, this has gone too far. I think it's going to come back down. It's going to resume. So there are probably some stop orders here. So I wanted to be able to be swept up, and I did get swept up. It was a very quick trade, came up, and immediately hit my profit target and also hit my runner, and I got stopped out. So it was a profitable trade, but it was a very quick one. I was not going to be too ambitious trying to get a certain number of points out of it because I knew this could reverse or come back to the EMA. So I just wanted to play that kind of volatility. Granted, it is an aggressive trade, so it's marked just with an arrow. There wasn't really quite a second entry anything there, but it was something I've seen multiple times where if price action is testing something, it tends to kind of break through eventually. So here, there is a failed breakout of this trading range in a second entry short, because if we took it from here as first entry short, followed by second entry short, I didn't take this trade. The price action kind of came back down and chopped around the EMA. So this is kind of very, very congested now. I have to be very careful not to take any crazy trades just because I think something was there. It moves up and it continues moving up. So now I have this trend line drawn. This guy here, because I have one touch, two touch, and I drew the top right here, one touch, kind of messy, but it's still there, kind of two touches. It chops around, it moves down, it comes back down here. So I decided, okay, well, as price action was developing, I drew a second overlapping trend line here because it broke through this one. So I'm thinking there might be a bigger range, but I'm not 100% sure. So I just have both of them existing at this point. And you see the price action is actually outside of this guy now. So I'm thinking this trading range might not be quite that important or valid at this point. It was in the beginning. And as you can see, it breaks back through, but it doesn't quite do as much. So I kept both of them overlapping. Granted, it's not the best thing to do because you really would just want to focus on one, but I just wanted to keep the other one available just to see if there was some kind of reaction to this particular trading channel. So this is a second entry short starting from here. It's a very first break, then followed by a second break. This is a so-so entry. It is going to be counter trend if you took it one tick below because you do have enough room to the EMA, but it's not something I would have taken because I didn't. And I considered it pretty aggressive. So as price action, so I skipped that trade, just kept moving. So this dotted line meant, well, I had to take off and run some errands. Life got in the way. So I didn't trade from here all the way till I got back on this red dotted line. So I missed a couple hours of trading right here. And then when I got back, I decided not to take any more trades because it was too late in the day. So after I drew this trend line, it just kind of floated out here. I didn't have it for sure firm that it was a confirmed anything, but it did confirm later. And I went back and looked at some of the possible trades. And this one was a possible entry because you do have a second entry, first entry long here. It's kind of weak though. It's pretty close. Then to have a second entry long here. Now, if you took this entry, you'd have to take it right here. There's just enough room to get scalped out, but it came back. And if you had your stop below here, you would have gotten stopped out. But this entry, and to be honest, I think I probably might have taken it, but I might have, if I didn't have my limit order ready to just take me out with a very conservative profit, I might have gotten stopped out. It could have turned into a red trade, but I'll never know. But it's just something, it's good to see it, so I'll know in the future to look out for something like this and just to be very cautious because there's only one key entry point, which would be the EMA. Of course, if you extended this guy all the way to the right, you could say that it broke above this trading channel and it closed above. So it might have been give you a double confirmation that it might have worked. But just remember that even a high probability trade might not work or still go against you. So as I kept watching, this is already printed though. So I'm just watching and reviewing at this point. This is the first low, the first entry short followed by second entry short, and it was a failure. This is pretty close to the EMA. It's an aggressive trade. Granted, you could take it. I didn't. Well, I couldn't because I wasn't around. But if I was watching this, I don't think I would have taken it. I would have considered it aggressive. It turns out it would have worked. So then it makes a brand new high, comes down, makes a first entry long, makes a second entry long, and then it fails. But to be honest, in real time, I don't know that I would have taken this trade as well because it broke below the EMA. To take a short here on a failed second entry long is going against the main trend, which now is clearly bullish. So that would have been an aggressive trade because you would have to taken it probably one tick below. And you don't really know if it's going to work out. It turns out it would have worked out. You would have gotten some kind of profit. But at the time, you can't really say, well, obviously, I would have done that because I have the benefit of hindsight at this point to see that it would have worked out. But at the time, I don't think there was enough signals to me to tell me to take that trade. And then this is when I got back. Got back, I saw all this stuff that happened. I hadn't seen this yet, but it's already pretty close to the end of the day. I decided I had 3 green trades. Just leave it at that. Don't push my luck. And as you see, the market kind of just chopped around for a bit, rallied to the close, and then closed at the end of the day. So that's how I saw the charts today. This one was pretty interesting. I did miss out a big block of trading. It was a little tricky. It's a little easier than the last couple days for sure, which were very choppy and very crazy. This one had a trend down, then it immediately trend back up. So it was a little easier to see and pick out things, but I wouldn't say that it was an easy day at all, but it wasn't as difficult as the past previous days. So hopefully that helps. It's going to help me in the future when I go back and review these charts.